What if the most mysterious place on Earth was not hidden in a distant ocean or buried beneath a frozen continent? What if it was just a hole in the ground? And what if that hole went so deep that it had forgotten the world above? The mountain that opened. In the Wushan Mountains of Chongqing, China, the land does not behave the way land is supposed to. The limestone here is ancient, older than most things that have names. It has been dissolving slowly for millions of years, eaten from below by water that found its way through cracks so thin you could not slide a piece of paper through them. For millions of years, nothing happened that anyone could see. And then the ground gave way. Not in one dramatic moment. Not with an earthquake or an explosion. Just a slow, patient collapse. The kind that takes 10,000 years and leaves no witnesses. What remained was a hole. Not a crack. Not a crevice. A hole. Perfectly vertical. As if something had reached up from below and pulled the earth down. The Xiaozhai Tiankeng. In Chinese, Tianqing means heavenly pit. The locals had another name for it. They called it the gateway. They did not say what it was a gateway to. They did not need to. The numbers. For a moment, consider the scale of what we are talking about. The Xiaozhai Tiankeng is 626 meters long, 537 meters wide, and 662 meters deep. 662 meters. That is deeper than the Eiffel Tower is tall. Twice over. That is deep enough that if you stood at the rim and dropped a stone, you would not hear it land for nearly 12 seconds. That is deep enough that clouds form inside it. Not above it. Inside it. The pit generates its own weather. Its own wind patterns. Its own microclimate that has nothing to do with the sky above. When mist fills the Xiaozhai Tiankeng, and it does this often, you cannot see the bottom at all. You can only hear it. A low movement of air. A distant rustling. As if something very large is breathing down there in the dark. The forest at the bottom. If you were to descend into the Xiaozhai Tiankeng, and very few people have, you would need ropes and equipment and a willingness to spend several hours moving slowly down sheer vertical walls of ancient limestone. And when you reached the bottom, you would find the last thing you expected. A forest. Not scrub. Not moss. Not the sparse, struggling vegetation of a place starved for light. A forest. Dense and ancient, and alive in a way that feels completely indifferent to your presence. Trees that have never been touched by wind from the outside world. Plants that have evolved in isolation so complete that several species found here exist nowhere else on Earth. Nowhere. Not in similar climates. Not in similar geographies. Nowhere. They evolved here. In this hole. In this specific darkness. Sunlight reaches the floor of the Xiaozhai Tiankeng for only a few minutes each day. A narrow column of light that moves across the forest floor like a slow spotlight and then disappears. In those few minutes, everything in the forest reacts. And then the light is gone. And the forest goes back to whatever it was doing before. The river. Beneath the forest there is a river. This is not a metaphor. There is a literal river running beneath the floor of the Xiaozhai Tiankeng, carving its way through passages that have never been fully mapped. Cave divers have entered these passages. They have followed the river for distances that take hours to cover. They have documented chambers so large that their lights cannot reach the walls. And they have found places where the passage simply narrows to nothing, where the river continues but a human body cannot follow. What is beyond those passages is unknown. No camera has seen it. No instrument has measured it. No one has been there. The river knows. The river has always known. It has been flowing through those passages for longer than our species has existed. It does not care that we cannot follow. The Tujia people. The Tujia people have lived in the mountains surrounding the Xiaozhai Tiankeng for thousands of years. They are not afraid of it. That is perhaps the most unsettling thing about them. Most cultures that live near something inexplicable develop a fear of it. A mythology of warning. Stay away. Do not look. Do not go near after dark. The Tujia did not do this. They left offerings at the rim, not to ward something off. Not out of fear. Out of respect. There is a difference. Fear says, do not come out. Respect says, we know you are there. The Tujia knew something was there for a very long time before anyone else started asking questions. Their oral traditions describe the Xiaozhai Tiankeng not as a dangerous place, but as a patient one, a place that has been waiting for something. They do not specify what. They say it will be obvious when it happens. The expeditions. The outside world did not officially document the Xiaozhai Tiankeng until 1994. This is remarkable when you consider its size. This is not a small geological curiosity. This is one of the largest structures of its kind on Earth. And it went effectively unrecorded by modern science until 20 years before the turn of this century. The first formal expedition descended in 1994. They were Chinese geologists. They spent several days at the bottom documenting what they found. Their report was thorough, professional, precise. And then buried in the appendix, almost as an afterthought, was a single paragraph that has never been satisfactorily explained. On their third night at the bottom of the Xiaozhai Tiankeng, the entire team reported hearing a sound. Not the river, not the wind moving through the pit. Something else. They described it as rhythmic, low, coming from below the floor of the pit rather than from the walls. It lasted approximately 40 minutes. It did not repeat. The geologists classified it as probable seismic activity. None of them requested to return to the site. But what they found when they looked closer at their samples would raise questions that science has never fully answered.